We all know that discipleship is important, but what does it actually look like with a teenager? And how can we make sure that our teams and even ourselves are growing as disciples? I think it can be as simple as three questions. And that's exactly what we're going to be talking about on this quick episode of Student Ministry Connection. Let's get ready to connect and grow. Welcome to Student Ministry Connection. My name is Steve Cullum. I think one of the most important aspects of student ministry is discipleship. Simply put, that's the act of growing teenagers closer to God. And at its root, a disciple is a student or follower. And within the context of Christianity, they're students of Jesus, with the goal of becoming more like Him. And as you know, there are many methods and strategies for student ministry. But despite the number of ways that it can be done, most, if not all, youth leaders would probably agree that discipleship is the primary goal of student ministry. In fact, many would probably say it's the primary goal of the entire church, helping people to know about Jesus and become more like Him. And one of the ways that I've loved doing this is through the use of small groups. I've been a part of some churches where everything was built around small groups, from kids all the way up through our adult ministries. The groups looked different for every age, but there was a strong belief in the importance of those groups. And when I've had the ability to set up small groups myself, I like having them led by a team of two adults who are further along in their walk with God. They function as mentors, facilitators, and disciple makers. And in my early years of ministry, we had the typical discussion style questions that followed up the message each week. And these got the students talking about the particular topic or the scripture and helped them with application steps on their own. Now, all of this is great, but those guides weren't really created with discipleship in mind. So this got me thinking what a disciple truly is. And after some prayer and reading, I boiled it down to three key actions. Number one, someone who is in tune with God. Number two, someone who is actively growing in his or her relationship with God. And number three, someone who is sharing God with others. The lead minister at a former church often talked about head, hands, and heart. In fact, if you do a quick search online, you're going to find many people who have said discipleship boils down to three similar aspects. And it all goes to show you that just like Ecclesiastes 1:9 says, there truly is nothing new under the sun. So with that in mind, I began adding three questions to the start of our weekly discussion guides for the small groups. And these three questions are based around those three discipleship actions that I just mentioned. The first question: where have you seen God working recently? The idea is to get students thinking about where God is moving and how He's moving in the world around them, how they're noticing God, whether it be through an answered prayer or through a sunset, or just through how God is working in their lives and the lives of those around them. The second question is, what are some things you've been learning from your own Bible reading lately? This could be something that they're reading completely on their own, or maybe it's something your ministry or your entire church is reading. But the idea is, hopefully you've been reading the Bible on your own and trying to learn more about God. What have you been reading and what have you been learning? And the third question is this: who have you been praying for to share Jesus with? And of course, the expectation is that you're actually going to share Jesus with those people when God opens the door. This is a great opportunity to see progress in this as well. Maybe a student shares that they've been praying for their friend for weeks or even months, and then all of a sudden they may come to youth group or your small group or a one-on-one time and say, hey, God opened the door and I was finally able to share Jesus with this friend. And as many of our students picked up on, these questions are written with expectations in mind. They suggest that students are actually doing these things, which means they teach and instruct more than a yes or no question. If we just asked if they're seeing God or if they're reading their Bible or if they're reaching out to their friends, they'd give a quick answer and move on. But these questions convey that we expect them to look for God, read their Bible, and reach out to others. And because small group leaders ask these questions each week, students know they're coming, and they begin to anticipate their answers every week. This means that they're trying to notice God, read their Bible, and pray for others so that they have answers to share each week. And we even started to see students to do devotionals and reading plans together as a group so that they can talk about it each week. And this was all initiated by students themselves. And it also had an impact on our leaders because they know that they're going to discuss these questions each week in their group. They realize that they need to be acting on them too. I've had leaders tell me that these 3 questions have helped them get on the right track in their own discipleship. And these 3 simple questions even began to be the basis of my monthly meetings with my team. And if we as leaders are focused on these areas of our lives, we will be better disciple makers for the students. And the beauty of these 3 questions is that they can be used in almost any discipleship situation. For example, if you're meeting with a student one-on-one, it's easy to get overwhelmed on what to talk about and what to do. Don't let that get in the way. Instead, you can base your conversation around these 3 questions. Maybe the questions can also be the basis of your family. Is your family actively talking about where they see God moving in the world? Are you reading the Bible individually and as a family and then talking about what you're learning together? And are you actively praying for others as a family and reaching out together to invite them to join you at your church or to talk about Jesus? I'm sure that these 3 questions are not completely original with me. In fact, I am certain that others have come up with a similar approach to discipleship. But I just wanted to share my thoughts with you and encourage you to do something similar with your own student ministry and your family. From my experience, these questions have made a huge difference in the discipleship of students, leaders, and in myself as well. And if they help you, please let me know. I would love to hear what God is doing in your ministry and your family as well. And if this episode has helped you, please consider sharing it with someone else in student ministry. And if you'd like to go beyond that and support my ministry with National Network of Youth Ministries, you can head over to nnym.org/Steve Cullum to learn more about how you can join my prayer and my financial partnership teams. I'll have links to all of that in the podcast show notes. I'd also ask that you keep me in your prayers this summer, as I'm going to be traveling quite a bit and speaking at least 4 different churches and camps. In fact, if you're looking for a speaker for your next youth group event or team training, please feel free to reach out to me. And speaking of prayer, I also want to encourage you to check out NNYM's Footprints on Campus Prayer Walk Initiative, where we're encouraging individuals, churches, and networks to do prayer walks around the schools and their communities at the beginning of the school year. This is the start of a big prayer symphony involving several prayer initiatives by NNYM partners, all culminating in See You at the Pole on the 4th Wednesday of September. I'll put a link in the show notes that you can follow to learn more details. We're going to be back in a couple weeks with our next episode, but until then, be sure to stay connected and may God bless your ministry.